So one of the tools that we've created for you is this family food assessment. So this is a sheet where you can sit down with your family or whoever else that you're going to be gardening with and really look at what do you like to eat and what do you purchase and what you should consider growing in your garden. So the way to use this sheet, print it out if you can, and sit down and look at it. And we've got it sorted alphabetically by vegetable. We've left some room for you to add in your own options, and we put a few fruits in there, which it looks like we need to fix this because we've titled them vegetables, but we'll work on that. Anyway, this is posted on the course site. So you can see the first thing is to evaluate how often you eat or would like to eat this food. So is it daily, weekly, monthly, or never, because we just don't like radishes, right? So you make those decisions on your own. The next column with the dollar signs is what is the relative cost of this fruit or vegetable? Is it a fairly cheap vegetable to buy at the store? And when I talk about that, that might be things like potatoes. Potatoes are very affordable in the market, whereas hot peppers or eggplants typically are more expensive, so you might circle the higher dollar amount. The next column is this locally available? Sometimes in season, locally available sweet corn, berries, fruits can be very affordable and very fresh and delicious, and you may not have room in your garden to grow these. So those last two columns are where you evaluate whether this is something that it is more cost effective and space effective to purchase, or if it's something that you really want to grow. So once you've worked through this sheet, then you have a better idea of what you're going to be planting in your garden. The other tool that we've created to help you with this process are some Excel planning spreadsheets. Now, if you're not familiar with Excel, you can actually just print these out and do the math yourself. But if you are comfortable with Excel and you have used it before, then this is a tool to help calculate how much to plant and how much space you will need, and we do the math for you. So this will work with both a Mac or PC as long as you have Microsoft Excel loaded on that computer. So here's how it works. You're going to open up the table and this is what you're going to see. Garden planning table number 1, and here in the yellow is a number that you can change. This is the number of people that you need to feed. So for this example, we've put 4 in that box. You can change it to whatever your family size is. You can even change it to 1. When you do that, it automatically will populate these numbers down here as to the pounds per person that you would want to produce, how much foot of row per person that you would want to plant, and then what that will come out to in the end. So start by changing that number to how many people you want to feed. So in some cases, crops are easier to plan on a plant per person basis than a row per person basis. So at the bottom of the table, you're going to see another option for garden planning number 2. And you'll click on that, and this is going to be for some like tomatoes, eggplants, hot peppers that you would grow on a per plant basis. So again, you would look at how many people you need to feed and enter that number. And then that's going to generate for you how many plants you should choose and plant per person. And then again, how many feet of row that is going to take up. And then your yield in pounds per foot of row. So give that a try. Of course, if you don't like a certain crop or you have no plans to grow it, you don't have to pay attention to our recommended numbers for those. So a few things to keep in mind when using the tables. You'll want to save that file to your computer and rename it so that you don't lose your work. Again, you can also print it out and use it manually. These numbers are only a guideline. These are based on per capita consumption of fruits and vegetables and recommended daily servings. They are not necessarily a hard and fast rule, especially if you do not or really like a certain crop. You're going to want to adjust those numbers yourself, and you actually can do that on the tables too. So if you're thinking about doing pretty serious food preservation, if you want to feed yourself throughout the winter as well, you're going to want to double those numbers because the numbers listed are for your fresh season eating for one season. And again, grow what you're going to eat no matter what the chart says, and you can adjust it as necessary to fit your family and your size in your garden. So another resource that we're going to put on the website for you is the chapter from our Idaho Master Gardener Handbook, and this is our vegetable crop chapter, and it gives specific consumptive yield recommendations for commonly grown crops. So it gives you ideas about how much to grow. If you don't use Excel or if you don't want to use Excel, you can look through this resource and it gives you a pretty good idea of how much you should grow per person or per family of each of the most popular crops. So now it's time to put your plan to work. So first of all, do the math. Really taking that time up front is going to help you avoid that situation during the season when you say, gosh, we just don't have enough tomatoes, or we have way too much squash this year. Plan for and plant for your family's needs, and really, if you have the space, consider planting extra specifically to donate, whether it's through the Idaho Food Bank or other places in your community, Meals on Wheels, senior centers, sometimes Salvation Armies. If you have shelters or soup kitchens in your community, often they are more than happy to take your fresh produce, and sometimes they'll even take those giant zucchinis. And another thing to do would be to keep notes throughout the season so that you know if your plan is accurate and your numbers are matching up to what you planned, and that you are growing enough or too much of certain things. So a few other things that you might include in your harvest records would be the date that you plant, the date that you harvest, the weight of the produce. This can be helpful if you're trying to determine the value of your garden monetarily. You can look at the approximate value of the produce. You can look at how much you're wasting or that you don't eat, how much was donated, and then if you're preserving, what your yield was in quarts, either canned or frozen. So are you ready? We really encourage you to take some time to work through those tables, see if you can make those numbers work for your family, and then get ready to plant.